About to leave, already packing. Come with me, I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be, life with no distractions. We'll get away, this is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out, life with my own doubts. Be free with me. Let's go, let's be free with me.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wake Up to Ultimate Freedom Success Code. My name is Natalie, and I will be supporting our host, Katie, throughout this week. I'm so excited for this week and how it's going to go. But before we bring her on, I do want to just go over some housekeeping items. You know the drill. So, first of all, if you don't have a workbook to follow along with, you are more than welcome to just leave a comment down below in the chat. Just type out the word workbook, and we will send you a link so that you can get registered to get a book. Now, speaking of the chat and everything, we want you to be involved. We want to see your comments. We want you to introduce yourself. So feel free to do all of that. We have plenty of fun prizes for all of the active members in the comments. So the more you comment, the more questions you ask, the more likely you are to win one of these fun prizes. Now, with that being said, in order to enter into the draw, we need to know who you are. We need to see your name so that we can put your name into the draw for any of the prizes. So make sure to click the link in the description, and I think there was another link just in the feed earlier where you can just click on it and give StreamYard permission to put your name out on the screen so that on our end we can see who you are and what you're commenting. That way we know and we can acknowledge you and we can put you into the draw. Now, if you have any questions and they are not answered today, don't be alarmed. We actually have a Q&A session happening on Friday. So we're going to be compiling everybody's questions and we are going to answer them all on that day, which is awesome. It's going to be so nice to have all of the questions addressed at once. So feel free to tune in then. Now back to fun prizes. There will be a prize that can be won at the end of this live, so stay till the end to see if you are the winner. Also, it's not too late to invite your friends and family in order to enter the big draw for the $50 Amazon gift card that will be announced on Thursday's live. So definitely hop on the live on Thursday as well in order to see if you are the lucky winner. But just keep inviting friends and family, enter into the draw. Now, I said this yesterday, but I'll say it again because it's definitely true. I'm a huge Amazon fiend. I love Amazon. I'm all about it. So if you're anything like me, feel free to invite your family and friends over so that you can enter in the draw and hopefully win that for yourself. Now, with all of these things being addressed, all the housekeeping items taken care of and put away, let's go ahead and bring on our wonderful host, Katie.
Thank you so much, Natalie. You're doing an awesome, awesome job. Thank you so much. Listen, guys, today is a really, really special day. I am so excited because I managed to get a huge, huge person on today, like a huge celebrity, like the biggest celebrity out there, the most important person, the star in the world, the biggest. And I am just so honored and so blessed to have the privilege of having them here with us today. And so I'm so excited to introduce them. The most important person in the world is you. You are the most important person in the world right now. But are you living like you are the star of your movie? Your movie being your life? Or are you acting as an extra in your own life script? Think about that for a minute. The image that you hold of yourself is how far you will go in life, because you're never going to outperform your self-image. Maxwell Maltz basically says that what does he say? He says, your self-image sets the boundaries of your accomplishments. You cannot outperform it. And also in his book, he talks about certain type of personalities. And he says that there is irrefutable clinical proven studies that have shown that there are different types of personalities. There are success type personalities. There are failure type personalities. There are happiness prone personalities and unhappiness prone personalities. There are health prone personalities and there are disease prone personalities. These personalities are developed by one's thinking. This is what he talks about in his book, Psycho-Cybernetics. And I want to read something out of this book. And I want you to listen to this. He says, there is an abundance of scientific evidence that shows that the human brain and nervous system operate purposefully in accordance with known principles of cybernetics to accomplish goals of the individual. Insofar as function is concerned, the brain and nervous system constitute a marvelous and complex goal-striving mechanism, a sort of built-in automatic guidance system that works for you as a success mechanism or against you as a failure mechanism, depending on how you, the operator, operate it and the goals that you set for it. So our minds are literally like a computer. And he said cybernetics. What is cybernetics? Well, let's just think about a thermostat. You have a thermostat in your home. Hello, hi there, Kat, how you doing? Hey guys, good to see everyone. You have a thermostat set in your home, and you set that thermostat to 70 degrees, okay? Somebody opens the door, lets a bunch of breeze into the house. All of a sudden, the temperature drops to 65 degrees. The cybernetic mechanism in the furnace picks up the deviation and automatically turns it on so that it basically pushes air in to kind of bring the setting back on course to 70 degrees. That's what a cybernetic system does. It monitors the setting, and anytime it's deviated from, the cybernetic mechanism kicks in and pulls it back on course. An airplane has a cybernetic mechanism. So let's say, for example, you are traveling from New York City to London, England. The airplane has a cybernetic mechanism that basically has it on course. And so as it's traveling, let's say that there's turbulence and it veers off course. The cybernetic mechanism picks up that deviation, pulls it back on course again. And so every time it veers off course, the cybernetic pulls it back on course. So it's off course, pulled back on course, off course, pulled back on course. That's what the cybernetic system does. And what this book suggests, and there's what they said irrefutable damage of this, is that our brains operate the exact same way. So think, for example, someone who has a fat image of themselves and they decide, I'm going to go on a diet. And so they go on a diet and they lose the weight. But because their cybernetic mechanism is set at a certain dial, they're treating symptoms. They haven't dealt with the root cause. And so what happens is they find the weight that they've lost. Because the cybernetic mechanism, the moment that they veer off course and lose all this weight, it says, whoa, 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 wait a minute here. Get back up here. And finds back the weight that it's lost. Someone who is earning $50,000 a year. That's how they're programmed. That's how they're set. I mean, let's think about it. Somebody who's earning $50,000 a year isn't earning $50,000 a year because that's what they want to earn. They're earning it because they're not aware of how to earn $100,000 a year. And so they're set. Their cybernetic mechanism is set to earn $50,000 a year. And so if 1 month they go up in sales and end up making way more than what their cybernetic mechanism is set at without changing the dial, right? What happens is subconsciously, their cybernetic mechanism within themselves makes sure to pull them right back down to where they belong. And by the end of the year, they're going to fare out at $50,000 a year. And the same thing works in the opposite. If somebody's used to making $100,000 a year, 1 year they get sick, they're not able to work, their income goes down, you'll be sure that in no time, they'll be right back up there, right back up to their level of success. Our minds are like a computer, the conscious part of our mind. So like I said yesterday, we've got two parts of our mind. We've got the conscious mind and we've got the subconscious mind. So the conscious mind is where the intellect is. It's where you gather all the information, all of the knowledge. But it's not the mind that creates. Or it is the mind that creates. It's not the mind that, what is it that I'm saying here? Well, no, it's not the mind that creates. Sorry, guys, drawing a blank here. The conscious mind is the logical mind, the thinking mind, the mind where you gather all the knowledge, the book knowledge that you get in school, but it's not the part of the mind that causes us to create. It's the subconscious mind that does that. Hold on a second here. I want to get this. 1 second, guys. Bear with me here. There we go. There we go. 96 to 98% of what we do is subconscious. So if you have an ugly image of yourself, in fact, they did a study with some college students, he said in the book he talks about, they did a study with some college students and they found that 90% of them were unhappy with the way that they looked. Now, many of their unhappiness was really unfounded. I mean, we really are our worst critics, right? Most of us looking at someone, we don't see anything wrong with them, but that particular someone can see all the flaws. And it could be completely unfounded. But because that's what they believe and that's what they hold of themselves, it's just as damaging, just as debilitating as if it were actually real. This is the power of our mind, right? Our subconscious mind has no ability to determine what is real from what is imagined. It has no ability to tell that. And so if you tell yourself a lie, I'm ugly, I'm unworthy, I'm worthless, the subconscious mind just says, okay, it accepts it, takes you at your word, and so be it. That's what it is. See, on a conscious level, you have the ability to accept or reject ideas and thoughts. On a conscious level, you can decide whether or not to accept it. But the moment that you accept it and impress it on the subconscious mind must act with whatever you give it. You have to accept who you are if you want to achieve freedom. You must accept who you are because you cannot outperform it. You got to have an image of yourself that you trust, an image of yourself that you love. You got to be able to express who you are, to be creative. And so when I talk about that, it's all about being happy and being happy now. Not when I get the business to the point that I want to get it, then I'll be happy. Not when I find the love of my life, then I'll be happy. Not when the house gets paid off, then I'll be happy. When the kids are finished school, then I'll be happy. When I get married, then I'll be happy. No. As long as you are living with a deferred payment plan on your life, on whether or not you can be happy, you're never going to be there. You're never going to be happy. It doesn't work that way. You got to be happy now. And that's the mistake that a lot of people make, is that they put their life on a deferred payment plan, thinking that once they accomplish whatever it is they're setting out for, the happiness will come. But we know by experience, all the people who do that, they suffer. And it's a guaranteed success for failure, misery, and despair. You have to look at happiness and understand that happiness is a mental habit. Happiness is a mental attitude. It's got to be learned. It's got to be practiced in the present moment. It's never going to be experienced if you're putting it off. Can't be contingent upon something outside of you. It's got to come from within. It's got to just be a part of who you are, right? If you're looking for a problem outside of you to be solved in order to be happy, I mean, that problem gets solved, another problem comes in its place. I mean, that's life, right? Life is a series of problems and various events. It's how you respond. So if you want to be happy, you got to just decide, make the decision to be happy now. Not because of some event outside of you. Be happy now. Make the decision. You can do that. You got to develop a success mechanism, and happiness is a part of that. So when I talk about the self-image, I'm not saying that you need to change who you are. It doesn't mean changing yourself or improving yourself. It merely means changing your own mental picture of yourself, your conception of you. Now, do you understand what I mean by that? You are perfect. There's perfection locked up within you. But the image that you personally hold of yourself, your conception, is all that you can see. And so you are, and your life is as it is because of the conception that you hold of yourself. The moment that the conception of yourself changes, everything in your world changes as a result of that. It's interesting. And I can relate. I can relate. I held a very poor image of myself. I was living a life of fear, like I told you before, scarcity. But even though it took me 40 years, over 40 years to figure this out, I hold no regrets. I hold no regrets in that, because investing in myself, like I said, has absolutely changed my life. My parents are Jamaicans. They were born, they were born in Jamaica. They immigrated to Canada when I was in my mother's belly. And they came to Canada with nothing but my sister in tow and me in my mother's belly. And they ended up in a town out west in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, which is where I was born. Now, this was a predominantly white town. And growing up there, I faced a lot of discrimination. I faced a lot of racism. I was bullied a lot because of the color of my skin. I was always the only Black person in my class, my siblings and I, usually the only Black people in our neighborhoods. And it's interesting because even when I started school, they put me in what is called ESL here. It stands for English Second Language, because I had a Jamaican accent. I spoke English. I was born in Canada, but because my parents were Jamaican and they were raising me, I mean, I'm a product of my environment. I had a Jamaican accent, and so they decided that I needed to be an ESL. I mean, countless examples of things that I dealt with. But listen, that does something to a child's self-image. And I didn't realize it, but it actually does. It goes with you right into adulthood. And I didn't realize that it did until learning the information that I coach now and going through the program myself and turning things around for me. And so while being there, around 9 years old, my parents decided to relocate to Ontario. And so during that time, they decided they were going to drop my siblings and me over to my grandparents while they, found a place and found another job, that type of thing. And so they shipped us out to our grandparents for 6 months. Now, my grandparents lived in the Bronx, New York. So I went from a predominantly white town straight into a predominantly Black neighborhood. I didn't know that white people were even existed in the Bronx up until recently, because the area that I was in, there was only Blacks. And so when my siblings and I got there, we were like in a culture shock, because we'd never seen so many people that looked like us all in one place. And so when we first got there, we would literally be like staring at everybody, right? It was interesting to us, but everybody around kind of thought we were weird. We were strange. And my cousins, actually, they used to tease us because they said that we sounded white. I laugh about it now, but at the time, I really wasn't laughing. I mean, it really, really made me feel self-conscious, to the point where I didn't even want to talk because I didn't want to be judged. And so a lot of times I just tried my best to just stay silent, So I had a very poor image. And even as an adult and, in my career and just evolving myself, I always felt like, man, like, is anyone ever going to take me seriously? I'm a Black woman. Who's going to take me seriously? Because I always grew up being told, you got to work twice as hard. You got two things working against you. You're a woman and you're Black. And to be told that time and time again, I didn't really realize it, but it really took a hammer on my self-image. And so making the decision and understanding this information that I can recreate my self-image and build myself to what it is that I want to be, I made the decision that I'm going to be the Oscar role winner in my life. I'm going to be the star of my show, the captain of my ship. I am no longer going to live my life according to other people's expectations, right? And so last year, May the 24th of 2020, I made the decision to do that. The picture that you see here on the left was the day that I decided enough is enough. I'm sick and tired of living other people's dreams. I'm sick and tired of worrying about what other people think of me. I want my life back. I want to be free. And so I made the decision that I'm going to be the producer of my life. I'm going to be the director of my life. I'm going to be the main character, the star of my life. And 3 months later, I released 40 pounds of weight and mental baggage. And you can too. You can make the decision to create your new self-image script and decide whatever it is you want to decide. I decided, look, I want a fit body. I want to be healthy. I want to be a powerhouse. I want to be an influencer. I want to be respected. And so I played the part. And I can show you how to do that as well, if you want it. Now, I'm going to go in a little bit deeper on that in my VIP session, which I'll be holding next Monday. So that is for anybody who is really serious and they really want to get down and serious about making changes in their life. Later on in the week, I'll have an invitation for that. It'll be a smaller, intimate group. It will be free as well, but I'll give you some more details in the week for that. Make the decision. Now I want to talk about resentment and how that can create an inferior self-image and could be possibly holding some of you back. Before I get into it, I want to start by saying that I can completely empathize, sympathize, acknowledge, and appreciate that some of you may have gone through some terrible, terrible wrongdoings. Some real injustices and real wrongs. I can appreciate that, and it's valid. Harboring resentment is a failure mechanism. You cannot win if you're habitually feeling like a victim of injustice. And so you have to decide, you have to make a decision. Am I going to be a victim? Or am I going to be the master of my fate? You can't have both. Operating in victim mode leads to self-pity, which is the absolute worst thing that you could possibly do if you're looking for freedom. It's a failure mechanism because playing the role of a victim, like I told you yesterday, where you put your attention is where you put your energy. And the only thing that can grow is the thing that you give energy to. So if you're giving energy to being a victim, well, you're only going to attract more of the same. And there are people out there who literally go out looking subconsciously. They're not consciously aware that they're doing this, but they go out looking for reasons of injustice. And I promise you, you will find whatever it is that you look for. So if you turn it around and start looking for what is going to serve you, what is going to take you to where you want to go, you'll find that too. But some people are just so conditioned to live in their misery that they don't want to change. I had an experience with somebody that I was dealing with who had a very dismal past. They were sexually abused as a young child by their mother's family member continuously for years. And they're an adult now, and it was awful. Nobody deserves to have that happen to them. And they still carry that baggage with them today, and they're still suffering for it. And so I was explaining to this individual that with the information that I coach and that I teach, it will show you how you can shift the programming in your subconscious mind so that it's no longer holding you hostage, no longer controlling your life, and you can shift it so that you can point it into the direction that is empowering you and serving you, and you can release yourself from this mental prison. And they told me that they didn't want that, because as dismal as it was who they were, and that they were afraid of what was on the other side of that. And I thought that was so sad, because it's not true. You are not your past. You are not your experiences. You are not what happened to you. It doesn't have to be who you are. It's something that happened, and you can let it go. The fear for some people, most people, in fact, it's fear that stops them before they even start. And that is so sad, because it doesn't have to be that way. Your resentment at the end of the day is not really what happened to you, but it's how you respond to it. Only you have the power to change it. Maxwell Maltz, referring to him again, where he says, resentments and self-pity are not ways to happiness and success, but ways to defeat and unhappiness. I also want to read another part that he talks about here, because I know some of you may be thinking this when I talked about happiness and how to make the decision. Some of you may be sitting there thinking, oh yeah, it's all great, but you don't know my life. You don't know what I'm going through. And so I want to read this portion to you from what he says here. He says, your opinion can add to unhappy events. Even in regard to tragic conditions and the most adverse environment, we can usually be happier, if not completely happy, by not adding to the misfortune of our own feelings of self-pity, resentment, and our own adverse opinions. How can I be happy? The wife of an alcoholic husband asked me. I don't know, I said, but you can be happier by resolving not to add resentment and self-pity to your misfortune. How can I possibly be happy? Asked a businessman. I have just lost $200,000 in the stock market. I am ruined and disgraced. You can be happier, I said, by not adding your own misery to the facts, your own opinion to the facts. It is a fact that you lost $200,000. It is your opinion that you are ruined and disgraced. Isn't that powerful? Your opinion matters. Your opinion of you is going to dictate your level of success. So while you show up to the world, we all have two images. This is what he talks about. We all have two images. And I did this as well, because when I talked about my poor self-image, every time I talk about it, people say, oh, really? I could never tell. You always look like you have it together. Well, yes, of course, we have two images. We have the image that we project to the world, what we want you to see. And then we got the image that we hold within ourselves, that deep-rooted image that nobody else knows but you. Those self-limiting beliefs of not being worthy enough, not being smart enough. You've got this thing called imposter syndrome that I've been hearing around lately. And what that is it's a poor self-image. And the fact of the matter is, if you don't change the dial on your self-image and you do meet with success, it's only a matter of time that you will be brought right back down to where your self-image believes that you belong. You're never going to outperform it, but you can change it. And that's the beautiful thing about it. You can change it. You can absolutely change it. Yesterday, I told you to dream and to dream big. And today, I want to ask you one question. Who do you need to become to attain that big dream that you set for yourself? Because understand that if you want freedom, if you want to change your life, you're going to have to make changes in your life. You are not going to be able to continue to do the exact same thing that you've been doing and expect a different result. Einstein says that's the definition of insanity. You have to be willing to change your belief systems. Are you willing to do that? I want to invite you to rewrite your self-image script. Who are you? The real you. Who are you? Write it out on paper. In the present tense. I am so happy and grateful. Now that, tell me who you are. Make sure you are the star, the producer, the director, the everything, because it's your life. You can do it. It starts with you. Until tomorrow, everyone, I want you to stay blessed. Natalie, I'm going to pass it on over to you.
Sorry, I had to unmute my mic. But hi, everybody. Happy to see you all again. Today was awesome, and the timing was perfect. I feel like I personally definitely needed to hear some of that. All of it, really. I think whenever you hear things and it's just like the perfect timing, it hits you in ways you didn't know it could, and it did. And I'm so glad that I am present here, and I'm so grateful that I was able to listen to this and hear all of these amazing insights. Now, speaking of insights, I'm going to go ahead and use that to lead into tonight's homework. So for today, I want you to post in the group what your biggest insight has been so far. Obviously, we're all so different and we all have different perspectives. So it's really helpful to share all of our insights so that we can all see everybody's different perspectives and what people deem to be the most important insight that they have learned so far. So feel free to do that in the group. Now, what I know you're all waiting for is my favorite part, the prize. So today's prize is actually a copy of Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. I bet you didn't know how to copy, huh? I did. But yes, that is today's prize, and we had a lot of active members in the comments today, and I saw everybody's names, so that was awesome, and I am so excited that I was able to actually go in and put so many different names into the draw. But today's winner of today's prize is Tamara Taylor. Congratulations on winning the prize, and thank you all for being so interactive. I'm so happy to see everybody interacting in the comments, and don't forget to do that homework so that you can really see results and really gain as much as you can from this. With that being said, I hope everyone has an amazing day, and I hope y'all enjoyed.